We continue learning Mishnah Brura Yoimi. Dirshu Mishnah Brura, excuse me. Siman Kof Samo Ches, and we're up to Sif Yud Dalid, the complicated and intricate halachas of Pas Haba Bekisnin. Says the Machaber Cholot. What's Cholot? Pirush explains the Ramah. Kimin Pas. What does this mean? This is like a bread. Choltin Isai Bereischin that is boiled, and then you bake it. And this is what we made mention of in the previous year. And this is a bagel that even though it's originally boiled, it's originally goes into roischin, but afterwards it is baked. Therefore, it is a good old-fashioned amaitzi. Says there, similarly, if something is a thin batter, that you bake it in an oven below mashke without any liquids. And therefore, the din is like regular bread, and you make regular hamaitzi. Without any liquids. Mashkin says the Ramah. Similar to what we saw the other day, in which a little bit of oil in the bottom of your frying pan does not make it into tigun. That's just preserving that it does not burn. Similarly, over here, avaldavar shablilasei raka, something that is a thin batter of a tignoi b'mashke, kuliyama lav lechemhu. Everyone agrees such an item is not bread. So it says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sivkatan Pei Gimel, Shacher Kachafai Betanar Vu Adinam Afai Be'olfis. Mashke, similarly, if you cook it in a pot without any liquids, bake in a pot, this sounds more like a sourdough type of situation, like a Dutch oven, that even though it's in an ilfis, it's in a pot, but because there is no mashke, therefore it retains its status of pas. If Kotam Peidal says Mishura Bas Kamarhu, Deloitem, you shouldn't say Kivan the Cholte Me Kara, Lavachal Lechamu. Don't say because originally it was boiled, therefore maybe it's not considered bread, Kamash Malan, that has a regular din of bread. Continuing Mishnah Berurah, if Katan Pehe, Muvarech Alav HaMoitzi, Vafilo Isa Blila Raka. And even if it is a thin batter, Shechalata B'Roischen Vachachafai B'Tanur, that it was made in boiling water and afterwards it was baked in an oven, Muvarech HaMoitzi, you make HaMoitzi. Continues the Magen Avram. If you fried it in oil and afterwards you baked it, it's a lamaitzi. Muchsha midvarav this fear Allah dafilu b'deloi kava aleu mavarach hamaitzi without a kvias. It's regular bread. Ochinataz v'davar achonim eskimu yimoy ditikun b'devasha b'shemin achaygam namashva yisel lepasa b'bekisnin. They say no. That makes it into mizaynes. K'mayim nalashi loi be'elu aminim. And therefore, if you're not making your actual meals through the Mavarach Bar Minim, you should know they don't make pas kisnin elik shetignoi kol kach shemen. A loaded line has to have enough oil that's the main taste. And not just that, it's a little bit of oil. No, that it is the taste. And then Varachal Amaitzi Sivkata Bevav, Afilu B'Tloikav Alayo, Vayin Magen Avram Le'el Sivches, the Davkam Le'ya Dak and Beis is not very thin. Tilavach Yavachal Bas Kisin Vayin Mashkazam Nusham, as we've explained, that when it's very thin, then it takes on the status of Pas above a kiss. Those were kikin dakin. We continue with the Mishnah Berurah of Kata Peizayin v'tignoi b'mashke. Ratzalei marshloyafal gabi tanor. You didn't bake it in an oven. Ela be'olfis imashke. You made it in a pot with liquids. Ulahachil kuliyam ainu afilu dazi ish cholkin anal lav lachem hu kiven shalachal lav shema ima me'olam. Because Isa me'olam, excuse me, here because it was a belila raka, it never got the shema of pas in it, and therefore, if it's subsequently cooked in a liquid, therefore it will not be called pas according to all opinions. Continues the Machaber and Siftes Vav Shroiknin Dahainu. Shaising Kumava Kira Vinaisaba Kamach. You make a hole in the oven and you put flour in it to Maim and water Marvin Bav and Efa Shamana bakes them Varkla by my name is Zainois. Then it's hamaitzi. So this sounds like it's more of the similar pasa baba kistin type item. We don't know exactly what this is. You make a hole in the oven wall, and then you pour in flour and water. It bakes there. It becomes a mezainis unless you are kaveya sudavel Teresa. Continues the mechaber, but Teresa the hainu, which is what? You combine flour and water, then you pour it in the oven, and then it spreads and it bakes. Ein alav teiras lechem, does not have the form of lechem klal. And this sounds similar to a wrap or a lafa. And obviously, just to speak out the kasha, we're not going to delve into the halacha, as this is something, as we keep on mentioning, is a very large sugya. Sounds like you're pouring a batter on the side of the oven, on a griddle, and it bakes. Says the mechaber, it's a mizaynais. So really the question is, if for whatever reason, a lafa is hamaitzi, so why is a wrap different? Or maybe one is more Teresa Dinama, maybe there isn't a difference, which of course is all the large machlaikas. But we continue over here, Sivkata Beichaz, chemical mayim that you pour in the hole in the oven. It's a very watery mixture, very liquidy mixture, excuse me. It wasn't so liquidy. Anything at the end of the day is cooked in the oven. So, but because here it's a very pourable mixture, that's why it retains its mizainis. This is when you pour it afterwards, mixed into a mixture onto the side of the oven, onto the griddle, even though originally it was made raka. Excuse me, it's the first case. Since it was made in the whole umiskabi to eat and it all gathers together, yachtav nase kimoi pas. Now we continue. So on the second case, I'm going to run it kava. On this case, then this Eli Rabba is probably the answer, the most lechatchila for wraps, etc. Is eating a meal. I will just mention, just because to give one word of halacha, Rav Elyashiv famously held wraps are mezainis. The reason he said, it's not bread. He took the wrap, he waved it for a second, and there's a video you can see on YouTube. People call it the question, did he know what he was talking about, etc. Personally, I did see Rav Pesach Leo Falk, the Baal Machzil did the exact same thing. We showed him a wrap, he took it, he wiggled it, and he said it's not bread. Could be it has to do with the thinness of it, etc., etc. Of course, these Paiskim held that lafas were yes, I might see. Rafalkel, the reason is that a lafa is a thicker thing, and when you cut it open, it has like those pori type items like a bread, whereas a wrap does not. And of course, if David Feinstein held that a wrap is straight up bread, that's the basic machlaikas. Now let's move on to Sif Tes Zayin. Says the Mechaber Nama Dihinka Vulechem Shayfin Bishvura Moishchanai Bishemen. It's bread on a stick that's coated with oil. Maybe it's more eggs. V'chein lechem asu lekutach. She'eino even ozeh b'taner ela b'chama. That was not made in an oven, only in the sun. Let's take this together with Yud Zayin, which Mechaber says a pashtit, and ever b'taner b'basar b'dagin oibe b'kvino v'arechalav ha'moitzi u'berach zam mazayin. But says the Rama v'davke shavoi b'tana b'loi mashke avoi b'machvat b'mashke in v'arechalav in lach le'rak teichas su'ud. Rama ends over strong words. There's no bracha on it. You only should eat in the middle of the meal. Kamay sheyis ba'er. So we continue with Sif Katan Samoch Aleph. Says the Mishnah Brura Vulechem Koloimar Botzik. It's a dough. The lechem shavai b'shvod lechem gomer. Who bread put on a stick is regular bread. V'varech labrayim name is hainisivkatan sadi beis hainu afilu b'tikavar alayu. Even if you make a kavias on it, it still is a mizoinos. V'ayim b'tor dimas arucha. If it's long, v'na and beautiful kain kluska, then varech lavamaiti. And of course, everyone realizes how the Betzias gets very difficult over here. V'shachan aruch eshmit ein magen Avram. Eli Rabbi Beragam Ashkam Nezeval Kol Banim Lechol Mizek Kedei Svia Bevada Yish Nizar Shalachol Kim B'Sei Chasud. If you're doing it for a svia, you're doing it as a meal. Certainly, you should be careful to do it only in the middle of a Suda. And the truth is, we read Siv Yud Zayin, but let's leave Siv Yud Zayin for a separate share as the lengthy Mishnah Buras, Psiyata Dishmaya.